Kevin, thanks for sitting down with us today.
It's an honor.
Tell us a bit about the Georgia Veterans Day Association.
Georgia Veterans Day Association, it's a non-for-profit 501c3, all volunteer force. And I always try to stress that because every one of our members, including myself, is 100% volunteer. We put on the Georgia Veterans Day events in Atlanta each year, typically in the closest Saturday to Veterans Day. This year is actually November 9th. But we put on the Georgia Veterans Day Parade in downtown Atlanta. We do the festival at Pemberton Place. And then that evening we do the annual Freedom Ball at the Oceans Ballroom of the Georgia Aquarium. So 3 big events and some other events throughout the year. Our ultimate goal is all about honoring our veterans for Veterans Day.
What are some of your goals for your work with the GVDA and how are you trying to achieve them?
2 of the goals would be to always ensure that every veteran feels that their service mattered. And that is something that is one of the most important things that we follow. Our mission statement has 2 key objectives. That's educate and honor. Number 1, obviously, is honor our military. Everyone, whether peacetime, wartime, in uniform at any point in their lives, should be honored. And we want to make sure that they know that their military service mattered. Another one is to educate. A lot of people don't know what military service is like. If you haven't served or if you don't have a family member, you really have never had that personal interaction. So we try to educate the civilians and our supporters out there exactly what military service and sacrifice deals with. So those are the key things that we really want to get out there. And it's all about community engagement and putting people in a room together or in a parade or anywhere else where you have veterans and our supporters and our civilians interacting and creating a dialogue. It's really dynamic when it happens.
What impact has this work had on your life?
It's been very fulfilling. Probably one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And the fact that it's an all-volunteer job makes it even more fulfilling because you know why you're there. And the ability to actually talk to these icons of history, General Hal Moore from Vietnam, Dutch Van Kirk from World War II, and spending time with my family and friends. My family, from my parents and sister and them in Pennsylvania, all the way to my wife's family all around Atlanta. Everybody comes together to put these events on. It's truly a team effort, and be able to interact with them to put these events on each year is very fulfilling.
If you could send a message to yourself 30 years ago, what would you tell younger Kevin?
If he would listen, that would be just before the military. And number 1, I would encourage to continue that route. I wanted to be a soldier for as long as I can remember from military service in the family. So I guess 4 key points would be to do your very best. Don't hesitate to fail. Don't be afraid of it. Enjoy life, enjoy the adventure, and grow and keep your family and friends close to you because they're your real support structure throughout life.
What has been the most profound moment in your life?
Again, I've had a lot of different moments that would be, I guess, a standalone important time. But for me, the plane crash that I was involved in during my time with the 82nd Airborne Division happened on 23 March 1994, mid-air collision at Pope Air Force Base. And we were preparing to do a jump, so we were on the ground when the plane impacted us. 24 paratroopers lost their lives that day, and 60 of us were injured, and I spent a month in the hospital after that, and then 8 months of rehabilitation to walk, and through all of that, and healing process. One would look at that maybe as the worst day and the best day of your life. It was an awful day, obviously, with the loss of life and the tremendous pain and what it caused all of our family members from those who were injured and lost. But at the same time, it's a turning point, and it's when you have something like that happen, you can go down one of 2 paths. And it was important for me to go on the path that I'm going to use it for something that is a driving force instead of sitting there thinking about what I can't do, just try to focus on what I can do. I've had amazing support from family and friends, from military members along the way that have helped me through the recovery process, both physically, mentally, to really come through that on the other side. So because of that challenge of that day, I've had a lot of wonderful things happen to me that have been, having a daughter, being married. But I would say that day is just the one that was a really interesting turning point for me.
Have you experienced any miracles?
To call it a miracle of my surviving the plane crash, I don't know how to label that. I've seen miraculous things, and many who were near me perished that day, and luckily I was hit with a portion of the aircraft and thrown a little bit out of the fire, which is what allowed me to survive, with just burns and some broken bones. The miracle came from the ability of the military members, our fellow paratroopers, who pulled us from that, who took care of us, who triaged and gave us initial medical care, to the surgeons who operated on us to put us back together, to the family and friends and our fellow soldiers, my parents. Sergeant Hilgenhurst, a good buddy of mine who was in my platoon, was very much there to take care of us. Those people were my miracle of that day, and had I not had the blessing of having those people around me, I would not have recovered the way I have today.
And Kim, I just want to thank you for your service, and it's really an honor that you would sit down with us today.
It's
we
an honor.
Really appreciate all that you've done, and all that the military does for our country, and that we all can have that gift of freedom because of people like yourself. So thank you so much for sitting down with us today. What's the best way to reach out and connect with you or the GDDA?
One of the easiest ways to find myself, our directors, and the other leadership team is to go to our website, georgiaveteransday.org. It'll give you all the information on the events, our mission statement, and it will put you in touch with myself and any of our members that anybody wishes to contact.
That's super. Thanks, Kevin.
My pleasure. Thank you.